bad things happen when good people do nothing.
Mm, mm,
I think that there's always some level of choice in each situation. We usually don't understand it because adulthood is a trap. We get we get fixed or stuck in specific ways of thinking. Uh, we don't see the possibilities, the opportunities, the other paths because once you're an adult and you follow the kind of lifestyle that adults should have, like you find a job, you get married, you have children, you get a house,
mm,
then all of those things are essentially good, but all of those things limit all other opportunities and possibilities and choices. And so most people can't afford to buy a house, so they borrow money from a bank and they have to pay money back to the bank. And so they have to work to pay money back to the bank, and it takes 10, 20, 30, 40 years
mhm,
to do that. And so they spend 8 hours a day working to pay for something they can't afford. Most adults can't afford to live because they have to borrow money to to survive. They have to borrow money to pay for the place to live. And the the security for borrowing money is working. And uh, so most adults are trapped in the work cycle
mm,
and they don't get out of it, and it's a psychological state because you develop a specific way of thinking because you have to for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. You have to um, conform to certain rules. You have to follow orders. You have to execute
mm.
actions,
It's true.
and there's not much flexibility in the whole process. Intelligence is relative to how you apply that intelligence in life.
Mhm,
So, um, you can have intelligence, but if you're not able to apply it in the right way, it doesn't mean anything.
mm,
Um, this is why there are high rates of suicide amongst highly intelligent people. A lot of highly intelligent people kill themselves
mm,
because they don't have enough of a support network around themselves
mhm,
to survive. And it's easy to be stupid
mhm. It's
in the
true.
short term.
Mm,
uh, it's it's easier just to shut up and follow orders, and sometimes people are rewarded very well for that. You know,
mhm,
school teachers are rewarded for that. Soldiers are rewarded for that. Um, a lot of employees are rewarded for that. Sports people are rewarded for that, right? They get something for it. So um, it, they have some advantage in life because they they're paid to be quiet about things. They're paid to perform certain functions. Um, and this is why the rise of, this is why there will be a rise of technology. This is why there will be a rise of robots because, um, you know, did, you, you understand the word robot, right? You know where it
mhm.
comes from. It's original Czech language, right? Robot comes from Czech, robotnik.
Interesting.
Robotnik was worker, right?
Mhm,
Yeah. And that's where the word robot comes from. It means worker
mhm,
or person who performs singular repetitive tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people will be replaced by machines for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but I was reading about the dangers of singular answers this morning. This is very interesting. That you know when you ask Google a question,
Mm-hmm.
you get one answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's so dangerous
Why?
because reality is more complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only robot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You are getting your answers from a robot.
Mm-hmm.
That's really dangerous because to get closer to the truth, you need to ask a variety of people a variety of questions and then uh, filter that information and decide what is relevant and useful and applicable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and keep the good information and reject the bad information. And that's always necessary. This um, idea that one answer is going to give you everything that you need is is dangerous because you can ask Google who is politician XXX and
Mm-hmm.
Google will say this is a left-wing politician or a right-wing politician who is an extremist or something like that. It might be true. It might not. Also, might not be true. You don't know. It's only one perspective. It's okay if you're asking Google about
Hmm.
the
It's
weather
it's it's
or
it's it's very manipulative, I think.
it is dangerous. I mean, Google
Uh,
removes
Yeah.
reason. It removes thinking. History is written and rewritten. That's the narrative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at history, very much it's black hats and white hats, good
Mm-hmm.
guys and bad guys, right? And history will tell you Julius Caesar was a bad guy. And history will tell you all these negative things, but if you start to look back, it's not all that bad. There were mistakes, but um, a lot, there's as much good as there was bad
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah, it's
time.
true.
So
Yeah.
so so it's not clear when we have these sort of singular perspectives, or like when you go to school, they give you one history book,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the same kind of problem because you don't get a variety of perspectives. You get a sort of general perspective, which is nice, but it would be much better to read a series of biographies or autobiographies by people who were there at the time
Mm-hmm.
rather than a collection of information created by somebody who wasn't there. So a lot of people in offices we know are performing tasks and not really thinking very much about what it is that they are doing. Yeah, I relate it to when I was a student. I worked in a cafe, and it was a cafe slash bar. It was a cafe bar,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very easy job. But
Starbucks
after
or Costa Cafe?
Costa,
Costa. Costa is good cafe. Very good.
yeah. They were a good employer actually. They were
Mm-hmm.
they, they were professional and organized, and it was good for me at the time. Um, so the point was that I I started after a week of working there. I started to make mistakes with the orders,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why was because I was just like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just doing the same thing every day in the same way, and there was very little difference and very little variety.
Mm-hmm.
And And so I stopped thinking. My brain stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't spice your day up with variety, if you don't pepper your day, if you don't change your habits, then 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 nothing is going to change because you will just do exactly the same thing every day forever. And
Mm-hmm.
so you need to do different things. You need to go out. You need to meet different people. You need to watch different films. You need to try different applications on your phone. You need to visit different websites. You need to try to, you don't know if car A is better than car B unless you drive it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you need those experiences, and you don't know if other people's opinions are right or wrong. I mean, how many times on the internet have I read something is really bad and then discovered it's actually really good?
Yeah.
Or how many times on the internet have I read something is really good and then discovered it's bad? So the, there's always a need for variety and changes. And when people work in offices, they tend to. The way I see it is that your job is like a role that you perform. It's very much like being an actor. Yeah, an actor is employed to play a role, play a character, and each job position requires a series of skills, but it also requires that you take on a character as well.
Mm-hmm.
The job title, the accountant, the administrative assistant, the manager, the technical advisor. These are all characters that we put over the top of our ourselves, our human existence.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the character takes over the person, and uh, people become their job,
Mm-hmm.
and they do everything that they're told to do, like good little soldiers. And they stop thinking about it because once they leave the office, they become a different personality because modern life requires a certain level of schizophrenia.
Yeah.
You are the husband at home, but you're the manager at work, or you're the wife at home, but you're the manager at work. Well, whatever. It can be the same on both sides.